Alright, guys. Science is finally reaching a point where we can start to print things like you could in, say, Star Trek, or the Twilight Zone had that nice little card reader. You put a specific card for an apple or something into a machine and an apple would appear. I think Star Trek showed this with a glass of chocolate milk, I think was the thing that they showed on Enterprise. Anyways, folks, lo and behold, science is proving day in, day out that DNA actually makes materials come alive. That it actually makes lifeless materials shapeshift. Now, this is going back to their understanding that researchers have actually started performing their own 4D printing and various things of this sort, where they can now make stagnant objects form shapes and do various things under those shaped conditions. Researchers have engineered tiny gold particles that can assemble into a variety of crystalline structures simply by adding a bit of DNA to a solution that surrounds them. Down the road, such reprogrammable particles could be used to make materials that reshape themselves in response to light, or create novel catalysts, reshape themselves into reactions as reactions proceed. Now, this actually kind of goes with something that I've almost always believed. And this is cool because this is one of these scientific things that I believe I will see in my lifetime. I kid you not. The question becomes, how will you limit it to the volume of the container? Now listen to this. There will be a universal catalyst created where you can put an object, whether it be organic or non-organic, ferric, non-ferric, alkaline, gas, solid, plasma. Granted, there'll probably be variations of this catalyst, but the main idea that I'm going to basically put forward is that when submerged in this fluid, gas, whatever it has to be in order for it to react with the substance, it will be able to universally, or near universally, take on the form designated and replicate that. So if I wanted, say, iced tea, in the refrigerator, there would be the catalyst. I would have iced tea in, say, a card on a computer, and it would take that form and it would put it into a, like you have your ice tray and your water tray and everything, it would say, place container, glass, whatever, in the container tray, and I would push a button like you do for the Coke machines now. I would push for iced tea, and it would run, say, water, or whatever their liquid would be for that, and you would have iced tea. And in similar circumstances, if I needed, say, I don't know, new tires or something, the same liquid would be applied to a single tire. It would be submerged in a container that would be double the width and size of what I need. And within 24 hours or so, hopefully a lot sooner, say an hour, a second of that form would exist in that container. Now, what would stop that from keep going? A simple stop and start genome. And that would come from a molecular level, and that is simple enough to understand that DNA does make materials come alive, and that we are getting that much closer to this makes me ecstatic. I know I brought you one on us being able to now grow meat. I never thought it was that hard, because basically all you need is the muscle tissue of an animal. Now, you guys know I'm a hunter, or quote-unquote hunter. Those of you that really know me, I actually do put my hours in hunting and stuff. I'm not going to lie, but I don't sit there and, from sun up to sundown waiting for everything. I mean, I go out till, I go out from about 5 in the morning, sometimes 4 till about noonish. And then I come in about 1, 2, go back out, and I stay out till about 4 or 5, depending on the day, circumstances, this and that. I'm not going to catch hypothermia or, anything weird because I need to skip, a 6-hour period and come in from the rain or something. Or, I do proceed back to a sheltered position or something. Anyways, the point of this is that DNA does make materials come alive. And we are actually starting to reach a point where we can do this in labs. And this is amazing. By adding different snippets of DNA to nanoparticles in solution, researchers can change the size of nanoparticles and the neighbors to which they bind, causing them to assemble in different, in this part, crystal forms. That's the image you're seeing here. So, and there's a bunch down here. I'm not going to get into it. So I wanted to bring you this because I actually like this. This tells me what I already know. That basically science fiction exists to promote ideas for science. That's, I've always had this one notion that if you can think of it, it is true. That's kind of a backward notion of it, but if you believe in something, it means it's possible. That makes better sense. What that basically means is that if you're a caveman and you're thinking how if you throw a rock, it could wipe out all the trees in a forest. Well, you might think of it as, cutting down all the trees in a forest, or something along that line. Well, what you would be thinking of is an atom bomb. Well, the caveman, would be able to think of an atom bomb, but in no way, shape, or form would he be able to produce an atom bomb. That's like saying you could go back to almost any period and pick up the more intelligent people and train them to be technicians in your industries here in your time. You don't think I couldn't get Julius Caesar to be, I don't know, a congressman here or something? Well, within about a year or two, I imagine you could. But he would think of himself as a ruler, so congressman would be short-sighted, but you guys get the idea. And so this all basically goes back to the idea that DNA makes materials come alive. And that science is now proving this. Thank you.